Good evening, everybody. Welcome. I hope you like that, Nick. You don't you feel so special?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have fun doing that stuff. And welcome everybody to Environmental Coffee House. It's Nick Humphrey, meteorologist, and me, Sandy Schoelles. Tonight we're going to go. Well, Nick is going to go over all the stuff that happened last month. We have some graphs like usual. And I think we're going to do a good question and answer also because everybody loves that. You know, they love it with Jim, they love it with Nick, so we'll do a question and answer afterwards. We only have one article and some graphs. So I'm going to say welcome, Nick. It's so nice to have you on this new every second Wednesday of the month, so you can go over what you've been doing on your Patreon and keeping up with. And tell us.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun to be able to do this show and talk to people. And
Yay!
yeah, I get so bogged down in, in just like regular life and stuff. I've had more trouble trying to keep up with everything lately because there's so much happening.
Well,
But I try and I
we
try to
don't have to
report,
do it all.
what's going on with everything.
All
Yeah.
right. Kim said, "Turn up my mic." That's because I didn't move it over. But you could all hear me. Oh, for God's sakes, nothing ever goes perfect. Not on this show. Anyway, so let me say hi to Karen and Rich and Human and Dolores. This is great. Yes, Kim, I got it. I got it. I got it. So, Nick, take off. What the hell is going on? We've had so much going on. What do you want to start with?
Well, well, sure. Well, I mean, I think the biggest story that I didn't have a specific article for it, but I mean, the biggest event that we probably dealt with last month was just the cold. I mean, it was just really cold in much of the
Yeah.
U.S. In February. At least the central U.S. just got blasted with this
Like
um,
this?
fairly intense
Yeah,
cold. Yeah, yeah.
I found this. I thought,
That's what happened.
where
Except
the
that's what
cold?
happened. That was the opposite. That's what happened in the Arctic. They got blasted with all that heat that we didn't get. Yeah,
Well,
but
yep.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's it was pretty amazing what happened. I mean, we had the second coldest temperature ever recorded here in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh, I know.
Um,
I was following
about
you.
yeah,
Freezing
about
for
3 weeks
you.
ago, it was negative 31 Fahrenheit, negative 35 Celsius in the
Holy
morning.
crap.
I had to go out and work in that, go out to work in that weather. It was crazy. I never
Yeah,
experienced
well.
a temperature that cold.
So, why did it
Uh,
happen?
well, you had I believe it was early January. You had that. It made the news that sudden stratospheric warming event. Basically, what can happen is that you can get high pressure systems that high pressure system. Typically, they form over Siberia where it gets really cold and you get a lot of snow and ice pack and stuff on the continent. But
Okay.
you get a high pressure system that's so powerful it sends these waves up into the upper atmosphere and even into the stratosphere, and it can induce a significant warming event that weakens the stratospheric polar vortex. It
Ah,
causes it to weaken or even split, and that sudden stratospheric warming and that weakening of the polar vortex can induce changes in the jet stream that cause the jet stream to exhibit these very intense waves, high amplitude waves, and you can get what we call trans this transpolar transfer of cold from one side of the Arctic to the other. So you can get cold air that
good
starts
lord.
off in Siberia and North Pole and blast all the way into parts of North America or into Europe, and it can get really cold. And that's exactly what ended up happening by the time
And
February rolled around.
wow. And how was it down there? How did the community make out? The animals, the farmers that weren't used to it?
Well, I mean, the farming right now obviously is pretty locked down with winter. Although I don't
Okay.
know, um, I but I don't know how the animals fared. I mean, it was pretty cold. I mean,
Okay.
although the insects they're recovering pretty quickly because we've had actually abnormally warm weather. Like it got near 80 yesterday here, and this is crazy.
80,
The extreme,
by the way,
yeah, it was
everybody.
negative 31 3 weeks ago, and now it's
Wow.
near 80 during the day
Freaky.
yesterday. And you
Well,
already had some
that's
bugs trying
hot.
to get out into it. Yeah, for this time of year,
Damn.
yeah, it's
It
pretty
was
hot. Yeah,
62 here today, but yeah, 62 and 59 yesterday. So I had the windows open and all that good stuff happening. So you guys basically
yeah,
you had like the Polar Express.
yeah. I mean,
Mm-mm-mm.
it was pretty amazing. I mean, the amazing thing about this, though, and this shows the effect of climate change, is that this extreme as this cold was, it wasn't as extreme as it would have been 100 years ago. just because global warming has made even our cold events warmer than they used to be. In fact, cold tends to warm faster. Cold events tend to warm faster than warm events. Cold just
Cold
gets
events.
extinguished more. Yeah, because of global warming, global average warming, and as a result of that, there were cold events, cold spells, in the early 1900s that were worse than this, and it's just some areas did see record lows or record low maximum temperatures, and obviously Lincoln saw its second lowest temperature on record.
Damn.
So I mean, it was still for some locations locally extreme, and obviously it was extreme enough farther south in places like Texas that you saw issues with power grid. I mean, even here in Nebraska, we had issues with the power grid where we were asked to conserve
Ugh.
energy, and we had blackouts. Like that morning, that was negative 31. I drove to work and
Wow.
and we had
That.
intersections where the power was out, and we
That's
had to treat them as
cold.
four-way stops because the power was
Oh my
out
god.
at intersections because of rolling blackouts. So it was a test to the infrastructure for sure. I think I told people, I don't know if I told people on
Sorry.
my Facebook weather page, meteorologist Nick Humphrey Facebook weather page, or other people, but I remember saying somebody,
Maybe I should pull that
if
up.
you imagine, imagine if you think it's bad now, imagine what it's going to be when you're dealing with extreme heat events that are far more likely to be record setting with global
Ugh.
warming when you're dealing with,
Yeah.
say, temperatures. I mean, the
Oh,
the temperatures, the records here in the plains from the Dust Bowl era, in the
mm-hmm.
plains and Midwest go into the 110s. I mean, the record high, all-time record high for Lincoln, Nebraska is 115. Imagine that happening, but
No.
happening all the time, and
No.
the issues with not only human health but the power grid that people depend on to maintain their health by having, you know, air conditioning and having running water and everything that you need to deal with a heat wave like you do in Phoenix, having that Phoenix weather in the Central Plains. And I mean,
Freaky.
that's the future that
It's the
people don't really
future. It's
talk
well,
about around here, but that is the
it's
future.
here. It's here.
Yeah,
It's
it
the
is
future
here.
is here.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. Um so that's what happened there, and obviously I hear an echo. I hear myself. Obviously that was Texas happened. And I know we've
Mhm.
covered it on this channel, but you haven't been on since then. I don't think so, have you?
No, no, I haven't. Yeah, and I
No.
haven't been
So
on
you
since
have, I'm sure you've had your
before the
take on
cold
that whole
spell.
mess. Yeah, the cold
Yeah,
spell was concurrent with what happened in Texas.
yeah, it was. I still don't quite understand how it got so bad in Texas specifically. I'd have to do more digging into it. I know that a lot of people are doing that, but I mean, it
Yeah,
was
and you're
very bad
working
in
and busy.
Texas. It was also bad in other parts of the South, Louisiana, Mississippi. I've heard it had issues with either um, electricity and running water. So it seems
Yeah,
like the
they had a
infrastructure
whole
across
thing.
the South is particularly problematic. I don't know what's going on, if it's issues with government regulation or lack of regulation, or just the infrastructure itself. It might be just the infrastructure itself. It's just
Right,
not
because
prepared to
that's
deal
not
with.
a drought state. No.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
not a drought state. They're a wet state. Are they not?
Texas.
No,
Uh,
Mississippi.
yeah, Mississippi at the moment. Yeah, it isn't dealing with too much drought that I know of. But yeah, it's very strange how
They're playing.
how it's turned out. But yeah, it was amazing. I think that the that that Arctic blast really revealed a lot of the problems with infrastructure in the power grid, and really shows just how vulnerable humanity is to the extremes of weather, of extreme weather events. I mean,
Yeah.
not just the extreme events people think about. I mean, people think about hurricanes and blizzards and big ocean storms that can cause storm surge and destroy things, and things that are kind of obvious, like pockets of extreme weather. This was a just there was snow and stuff with this cold wave, but it was mostly just the cold itself that caused it. The temperature
Yeah.
that caused people to skyrocket their electricity usage and had problems with the power grid. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's going to
Get those
happen when you have heat
ridiculous
waves too.
bills.
Yeah, yeah.
What's going to happen with governments when that happens? I'm playing with stuff on the screen, guys. I'm sorry. Just, I'm being honest. So what is going to happen when this is a regular occurrence? People can't afford that kind of electricity bill. We're going to have to go to
Well, I
renewable
mean,
solar just for the cost
well, I
of it,
mean,
I suppose.
People are going to try to are going to do what governments are in many cases are trying to stop them from doing, which is produce their own electricity. Try to,
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard, I can't, it's very vague in my mind, but I know there have been issues like in Las Vegas and other very sunny places where the monopolized energy companies or utilities sometimes try to lobby to prevent people from being able to take um, either produce their own energy through renewable sources
Yes.
or
Right.
get renewable energy itself, because there's no money in it for them unless they control it, that is.
Oh,
um,
Nicholas, that's
uh,
going to get the environmental coffee house flush of the day. That's the best. Yeah, you haven't had that one yet. Oh, yeah, there's at least one statement that gets the flush that we want to flush that problem away. Well, there you go. You got it. You got it.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so
Nick.
I mean, I think governments are really gonna struggle when extremes, things that we consider extreme because of the impact it has on society, become a regular occurrence. If you're having devastating floods every year, you're having devastating heat waves every year that are killing people, cold waves
Yeah.
because
Oh, God.
it, because of global warming affecting the Arctic and stuff like that. um, you're going to see more of um, social and societal problems and unrest. You're going to see more people struggling to survive. I mean, you had people that died in the cold in Texas, unfortunately.
Hi,
Yeah,
Jim. See his comment, the government has proven
yeah,
they will not be there for you. Social unrest and then societal collapse. Well, hope, it's preparation. It's adapting. It's building sustainable things. If that's not a pipe dream, this is what the future is holding for
yeah.
that.
I mean that's the only hope that we have is trying to adapt as quickly as possible to the changes that our world is facing because of the changes in the atmosphere and the ecosystems and everything else, trying to
Yep.
keep the ecosystems from collapsing because they depend on them,
God.
but also trying to alter our practices so that we're able to have better sustainable lives on this earth. But I wrote a blog post on my Patreon a couple weeks ago about the United States reentering the Paris Agreement, and I showed some
Yes.
pessimism with that, just because of the fact
Oh.
that um, you we've shown absolutely zero progress on anything related to climate change with all of these climate change meetings, talks, conferences,
Right. Well, you
everything.
know what, though? It's put your money where we have an administration now that's putting some money into it in the United States. Now we just have to
Yeah,
combat those administrations that aren't. I mean, this country can't do it all.
yeah,
We're just coming
and
out
that
of a
includes
mess of nothing.
and that includes state governments. I mean, you have. I mean, I saw on my I posted some news story on my. It was from a conservative newspaper, but they talked about it on the. I posted on my Facebook weather page. They
Mm-hmm.
were talking about the fact that several states. Well, Missouri's leading the lawsuit against the Biden administration for like executive orders that have to relate to climate change mitigation measures. I don't remember the details, but Nebraska was joining in on that lawsuit, the Attorney General of Nebraska, and I was just like, great, of
Oh
course.
wow, of
you know,
course. Oh my
yeah,
God.
I mean,
I'm
I think all of
sorry.
the
I'm
states
sorry you live
all
in
of the
a
states are doing it
lucky
are red
state.
states, with
Yes.
Republican attorneys general, and I mean, it's
Yep.
just I just they're talking about basically their argument is that these climate change measures will damage their states' economies, and all I can think about is, well, what do you think climate change is going to do? It's going to
Yeah, you
destroy
dork
your
sticks.
economies.
Of course.
I mean,
Oh my God.
Nebraska could become a desert. Florida could go underwater. Parts of South Carolina, I think, North Carolina, they were part of the lawsuit. They could go underwater. I mean, parts of their coastal areas will go underwater. Um, I mean, Florida is going to become either, depending on where you are, you're going to be either underwater. It's going to be a hothouse, greenhouse. It's going to be steamy hot all the time
Well,
at
what
some
is it
point in the
now?
future.
What is it
But
now?
already is hot.
It's hot now.
Yeah. So I mean,
Nick,
it's just yeah.
no, I get it. I want to ask you about you gave me some graphs and I thought maybe we could go over something if you want to show. We'll do the visual thing now. We'll move over to visualizing everything, guys. And I thought if you want, did you want to do the talk about the monthly mean, the temperature that's been, the
Oh yeah,
because this
sure.
stuff
Yeah, you
is
can bring that up.
happening. All right,
Yeah.
let me bring it up and give it a whirl here because this graph has a lot to it.
Oh, that's the CO2 graph.
Oh,
I could
that's
talk
the
about
wrong
that
one.
first.
No, 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 no. I wanted the
Okay.
monthly mean. I mixed up the graph. No, global monthly mean. Is this it?
That's methane.
Oh my god.
Should be the next one.
I named them and everything and here oh Lord. Nicholas, what did I do tonight? I wasn't feeling so great. All right, well, no, seriously, I think is this
Oh,
it?
there it is. Yeah,
There it
there it is.
is. I'm sorry. I thought
Yeah.
I had this all set up. Sorry guys, but I've had a couple of yucky 2 days. All right, go for it.
That's the 12-month running mean global temperature anomaly. The baseline is meteorological. They change it every 10 years, so it's 1991 to 2020 climatology. But obviously, um, relative to the mid 19th century, it's running around 1.25 degrees Celsius above that climate of the mid 19th century. But basically, you can see the the waves in temperature as we go over the years, but the trend is upwards. And right now, we're getting sort of a decline in the running mean just because of La Nina. You get cooler waters in the central and eastern Pacific as the trade winds strengthen, usually in the later fall and winter with La Nina pattern, and that 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 cooling of sea surface temperatures over a relatively large area that decreases the overall um, planetary temperature average, and so
Mhm.
you see that little decline at the end of the graph.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's going to be temporary. Unfortunately, it's going to continue to climb overall year to year, decade to decade, just because of global warming. It's not going to stop. But that's what we've seen. And you can see that we've had some rather significant rise in the 2010s compared to previous decades. So 2010s have definitely been a major major period of global warming. We had that peak in 2016, dip again, then rise as we've gone up to 2020. Um, but it's but the rise is it just continues, and it won't stop
Yeah.
for as long as humans are on the planet, spitting out carbon dioxide and making the ice caps melt and the
Yeah,
permafrost melt and
yeah.
everything release more greenhouse gases. So
I missed you,
yeah,
Nick. It's like here we have to sometimes have a laugh because everything is just so pathetic. I have that article
yeah,
that
I
it's
know.
the humans not nature are the cause. That's a segue of changes in Atlantic hurricane cycles. New study finds this is exactly it. God,
Yeah, it was. Yeah, this was written by
Jeff.
or co-authored by Michael Mann.
Oh, Michael
I thought
wrote
it was,
this one too. Jeff Baradell, is
or
that a Michael man?
not the article, but
Je-
the paper that the article
oh, yes.
is discussing.
Let's
Yeah,
see here. Let's
the
pull it
scientific
up.
paper. Yeah, it was co-authored by Michael Mann. But yeah, it was
Let's
rather
find it.
shocking because I mean the Atlantic multidecadal oscillation. So basically, what it is that every and there's a good image of it actually. The Atlantic multidecadal oscillation (AMO) is basically every several decades you get a a a, a notable increase or decrease in hurricane activity in the
Mm-hmm.
Atlantic basin or tropical cyclone activity in the Atlantic basin in terms of numbers of storms, in terms of what we call the accumulated cyclone energy. You know, you get a rapid a notable climb for that last several decades. And I mean, individual years go up and down, but you see overall a rise in activity, then a decline for several decades, then a rise again. And we've been in a positive
Oh.
or active AMO since the mid 1990s, and people thought, including Michael Mann, who I didn't realize he was the one that actually coined the term Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation. Um, but apparently he did in the
Mm-hmm.
90s. But it was thought that this was a normal cycle in as part of nature caused by natural variability in the climate system. Uh, but apparently, doing research on his own
There it is.
terminology and going back over his previous research, he's found that it is in fact in pre-industrial times, at least in the 19th century, it was driven by um, variability caused by intense volcanic or activity that
Mm-hmm.
influenced the cyclone activity in the Atlantic Basin. But since the 20th century, it's been largely driven by the rise in greenhouse gas emissions. Now, I don't know all the details because I didn't read the paper. I just read the
Right.
article. I don't have subscription to science, so although I do
No,
know some
and
people that have
neither
access
do
have
I.
scientific access to papers. I used to be able to do that when I was a graduate student. I'd be able to access papers for free,
Well,
but now I
ask
can't do that
somebody
anymore.
to put it into PDF and send it to you if it's important.
Yeah, I'll
If
have to do
somebody that
that.
you know has
Re,
it. I mean, it's
yeah,
expensive to keep up with these prescription subscriptions. It is. I
yeah,
have several, but mine are the graphic arts ones. And everybody out there understands. How you doing out there in the chat? Looks like everybody's having a
yeah.
good time.
I'm already paying to be a member of the American Meteorological Society and National Weather Association, so I get some
Yeah.
research
Oh,
information through
good.
them and stuff like that.
Good.
Yeah,
Yes, because you
but
are a meteorologist. Yes, certified.
yeah,
Love it.
it was pretty. It is pretty amazing to realize that, assuming man's scientific data and methods are reproduced and other people come up with the same conclusion, that that humans are driving this cycle, because it means that it's probably going to become more intense. You're probably going to have more intense active periods as global warming intensifies, which is in line basically with what is expected. We're expecting to see not necessarily more storms in the Atlantic, but storms that will have the capability of becoming more intense, more powerful, um, as
Yeah.
global warming continues to intensify, and which
Yeah, and it
obviously has
is.
implications for people living on coastlines where sea levels also rising at the same time.
Well, yeah, that and we know Antonio. That's what he's gonna probably. Hopefully, we're gonna do a show with him Friday night and have our sea level rise discussion as we have. Feel free to join.
Yeah.
Send you a link if you want to pop in. He couldn't come in. He couldn't pop in tonight because he was working. So let's see what the next one is that I can screw up to pull up. What would you like me to try to pull up? It's too small for me to see it. The annual increase?
Oh, well, there's methane, and there was the carbon dioxide one.
Of course, I didn't. Yeah. Of course, I screwed this all up. This is the
That's the
atmospheric
carbon.
CO2.
That's the carbon dioxide one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one is a good one to talk about, I think, too.
yeah. I
Yeah.
wanted to pull up that one because um, it shows the rise in CO2. Since the '60s, the curve that never ends. It continues to rise, but the graph on the right shows the change in CO2 concentration per year, and it shows that the change in the rise in CO2 yearly is increasing. So you're getting, so it used to be less than 1 ppm per year. Now it's like over 2 ppm per year that you're
So it's
seeing a
just
rise in
going
CO2.
up.
Yeah,
Yipper.
I see. I wrote down that the CO2 concentration, the average in February was 416, almost 417 parts per million,
So
which is almost
scary.
2.5 parts per million higher than it was in February 2020. So I mean, it's rising so quickly, and yet we we don't. I don't think a lot of people grasp the effect that's going to have, because
Mm.
the effect is delayed by like a couple decades. The effect of that CO2 on the warming of the planet, it's latent. It has a latency, it delay, and so people don't really understand. What we do now in 2020, 2021 is going to be felt in 2049, 2050.
Yeah.
Or 2040
My kid
even.
will be,
Yeah,
I think my kid will be my age now. And if she, we don't like to think of the morbid cure, thing is it's not, but try our damnedest so our kids have
yeah,
something. Of course, it's going to be completely different, completely different.
yeah.
So,
20. Trying to think about the world in 2040, 2050. I mean, you're talking the hurricanes are going to be far more intense than they are now. The sea level is going to be starting to cause serious problems with infrastructure, coastal cities. Um, you see these projections. People project out to 2100 or whatever, but you don't need to wait 80 years to see major damage being done from
no,
global warming. I mean,
no.
it's going to be 2030, 2040, 2050 now. Even already seeing some of the damage being done to our ecosystems, to the planet. I didn't post this article. I saw some article talking about,
Mm-hmm.
there was research being done showing that 2/3 of the world's rainforest had already been decimated from logging and
Two
for
thirds?
logging and agriculture. Yeah, compared
Two
to what it
thirds,
was
Nicholas?
originally. Yeah, Yeah, because most of it's been hit in South America, and then Indonesia, and then in Papua
Oh,
New Guinea, and in parts of Central Africa, and I mean it's a lot of rainforest
it hurts.
that's been
Makes
impacted.
me want to
Yeah,
cry. I'm thinking, you think of the species loss and the ecological hit
species we
to
never
everything.
even heard of, we
No.
never even had a chance to discover.
Oh, Nick.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, now that I'm thoroughly feeling teary, where else could. Oh, I have one. China. And I saw that China was having some landslides and rainfall, but that's a huge country. I bet it's hard to track that one, that
Oh
country.
yeah, I haven't fortunately have not looked
Well,
up
I'd be
what was
interested
going on in
maybe.
China.
Let's look for next time. China. We know what goes on in Russia because it's cold. They're
Yeah, and the
cold. They're
permafrost and
yeah,
all of
they're
that.
cold. But
Yeah,
I'd be
interesting
interested
thing
in.
about China, China, I mean, in general, is that they're such a big country, especially um, um, latitudinally. You know, there's a lot of with a lot of going on in North China versus South China and everything else. But I mean, they're just exposed to a lot of these climate hazards like the United States is. I
Yeah,
mean, they're gonna
sure.
they're gonna be dealing with more typhoons, more powerful typhoons in the next decade, 1 to 3 decades, as global warming worsens. They're going to be dealing with part of their coastal cities being infiltrated by the sea as the sea rises.
And they're going to build
Shanghai
more
and those
coal
areas.
plants. Is
Yeah,
and they have
because
the Belt and Road
they have
Initiative.
so many
Oh my God.
because they
That's
have
why I
so
can't
many
even
people.
follow them.
They need
Yeah.
energy like right now. You know, they need it
Yeah.
right now.
It's
I mean,
interesting to
I think
follow.
they're doing some investment in renewables because it's useful,
Sure.
but I mean, they just have so many people. They need that energy right now, and the fastest energy you can get is coal and
Yep.
is coal fired power plants. I mean, it's just so. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's that's why with the Paris Agreement, it's really hard to see um, countries even. I
No.
mean, if they meet if they meet their current obligations under the Paris Agreement, that's three and a half degrees of warming baked in by the end of the century. So if we're gonna go out to the end of the century, that's the end
Mm-hmm.
of the century. But to
Jesus
even
Christ.
achieve that, I mean, we're supposed to be declining our emissions right now in 2020, 2021, 2022, and we're not doing it. Um, I don't even think they're going to meet those goals. And I think that at the current path, we're
Heavy.
talking about 4C of warming, and that's assuming the old climate models are accurate, and the newer climate models are talking about potentially, greater and more amplification of warming going past 2050 to 2100. So, I mean,
Jesus.
people worry about things happening very fast on very quick time scales, but I mean this process is for human consumption is going to be drawn out for a while. We're going to be seeing these
Sure.
impacts compiling, you know, uh, piling up on top of each other for a while, and we're
Hey,
just
Nick,
gonna.
did you happen to see that map? I don't have it. It was a map that showed, where it's going to be better to live. And I saw the Northeast. I thought, bingo. But I don't know if you happen to see that for climate change places,
I don't think
destinations to.
I've seen that, but
Okay.
obviously Canada is going to be better temperature wise than here at some point. The North New England, perhaps northern tier states of the U.S. Um, but of course, um, it goes beyond human comfort. but also agriculture. How much can you move
Yeah.
agriculture north? You know, just because of the soils and everything else. I'm curious about that because obviously, if you can't grow what you grow in Nebraska in in Alberta, then you're going to have
Mm-hmm.
problems with food. So it's going to be interesting to see how um, scientists try to deal with that. Because I mean I know that they're going to try to make crops that are more resilient to climate change, either through
Sure.
genetic
Oh, it'll be
changes or whatever. I mean,
genetic.
it's
GMO
yeah,
weather resistant crops. They have it now.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, some people may not like GMO stuff, but I mean that is the future because
Yes.
they're going to try to do everything possible to keep
Mm-hmm.
the crops capable of adapting to the changes in the climate, deal with hotter temperatures, deal with more extremes in temperature up and down, and be able to grow in soils that may be different from what they would have been
Yeah.
grown in previously.
Well, the growing season is starting here locally. I mean, my friends and I are all getting our seedlings into our little indoor greenhouses and then moving them out and and I'm anxious about what kind of season it's going to be around here. We're a farming community like you,
Mm-hmm.
and I think about actually farming all around the world. How again India, how is India faring? They and Thailand, they have their rice paddies, and in
Mm-hmm.
Asia, there's going to be, I don't know, how are they doing right now? Anything going on? I
I
don't
haven't
think
heard
I've heard.
anything in particular.
No.
I know India past couple of years. I know they've been dealing with ridiculous heat during their pre-monsoon season.
Right.
Before the monsoon, either the monsoon gets delayed and it just gets hotter and hotter and hotter as they wait for the rains to come. So the past few years, they've been dealing with pretty intense heat in India in the late
Good to
spring
hear.
prior to their monsoon.
Mm. I love that I can ask you about any country and you've got it. That's really awesome. Because
Well, so sometimes
no,
I
most
have
of the time.
general things. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily a news story in my head, but I
No, that's
remember things.
okay. Well,
Hmm.
yeah, you're trained to. And I'm not. I'm absolutely not. So let's see what else we have. Did I screw this one up? Nope, we saw that already. Monthly mean. Why did I think that was? We saw that. What am I looking? Oh,
Oh
this
yeah,
one.
that's the
That's
methane.
the methane. Now everybody's always interested in methane, so give it a whirl here. What's going on in the
Yeah,
methane world?
I shared that because
I'm gonna get rid of
I
that.
heard that there was a new monthly, or at least a preliminary monthly um,
A surge.
methane concentration record set in November 2020 of 1891.9 parts per billion, um, which is just getting high. I mean, it just continues to climb, and I mean, methane is one of those greenhouse gases where it's kind of a lot of different sources. I mean, it's coming out of nature. Obviously, everyone's concerned about methane coming out of the Arctic, the
Yeah.
permafrost. It's also coming out of the tropics. It's also coming from human sources. I mean, we're in the oil refineries and natural gas harvesting. I mean, you get all of this. Another industry just produces tons of greenhouse gases, including methane, and it's just pouring into the atmosphere. And obviously, we saw that pause in the rise of methane during the 2000s, late 90s and 2000s. But since since the 2010s. It's been just climbing, climbing, climbing again. So, I mean, it just adds carbon dioxide will always be the primary greenhouse gas that's contributing to changing the energy balance of the planet. But the methane is just adds to the problem like significantly, along with nitrous oxide, which also comes from industry and agriculture and stuff like that. So um,
Oh,
yeah, I mean it's
you were talking about methane, and David's with us, Nostradamus, and he actually calculates the methane. David, tell us about your, if you can put in, I'll have to hook you up with David. He calculates, and he'll calculate methane in the air by hand sometimes. He finds, oh, he's amazing. I had him on the show. You guys have to hook up because David in the UK, and he that's what he tracks. So I asked if he
okay.
was still here to give him a shout out, but everybody saw that show. Yeah, I want him to come back
Mhm.
on again. I asked, and but you will see. We'll see what happens. So okay, so we talked about methane, and it is 46 minutes now. I want to know, guys, do you want a question and answer? Because I didn't see. I forgot to tell you guys to put a Q. And here, why don't I read Jim's? 1891 ppm equals 1.89 ppm. In the first 2 years, methane is 162 times more powerful as greenhouse gas. Add on another 300 ppm CO2 to 416 ppm equals 700 ppm. So are we going to be able to breathe, Nick? Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Oh my
methane
God.
definitely. Yeah, methane definitely has a powerful effect in the short term. It tends to, it does tend to, um,
Wow.
because of interactions, I believe, with UV radiation, it disassociates into water and carbon dioxide. So its effect declines with time over, years to decades. But I mean, I think even 100 years out, it still has a more a more powerful impact molecule per molecule than carbon dioxide. It's just that there's so much more carbon dioxide. So, but methane definitely adds to the problem
To the mix.
significantly. It would be
Mix it up.
much better if we didn't have the methane
Let's
problem,
drink it.
but it's there.
By the way, I'm not drinking alcohol. I am drinking vitamin water. Okay, there you go. Because oh, I had wine last week because my back was killing me, but I'm not mixing the alcohol. No. Um,
Someone asked if it
Val,
was going to be hot this
yeah,
summer, maybe.
and he's in Indiana, so I'm giving you Val's in Indiana. So what do you think? Give it a
It's a
prognostication here.
little too early to tell about the summer. I am a little concerned about the spring, not so much the temperature, but the potential for like severe storms, severe weather. It's kind of um, it's kind of a odd pattern where La Nina tends to correlate with significant tornado outbreaks during the spring months. But that's not always true, but you
Yeah.
can see that. So just because of it can produce an active jet stream with a lot of dips in the jet stream in the western U.S. and you get these waves that propagate into the plains and Midwest, and that can produce severe weather. Um, so
Okay.
it's kind of a concern, but it won't be. It'll be kind of hard to know what's going to happen in detail until we get closer more into
Okay.
spring next month and in May.
Okay. Kevin Hester. I'd love to know what CO2 equivalent Nick thinks we've reached. My guest on Nature Bats last, Dr. Andrew Glickson, had us at 560. 560 CO2e. Is that equivalent? 2 years
Equivalent,
ago.
yeah.
What
Yeah,
do you think?
there's
That's
different ways
awfully.
to it's a different ways to calculate the
Killer.
methane because there's different
No,
yeah,
CO2 equivalent, isn't it? CO2.
yeah, but
Oh,
that's
I
part of
see.
the
With the methane
methane with the methane.
calculation.
But yeah,
Okay.
um, there's been a lot of some peer reviewed papers that have come out over the years that have given different values. NOAA has it as at least 500 ppm CO2 equivalent. So I mean, um, uh, I've
Holy
heard
shit.
560, but yeah, I mean at least 500 ppm. So I
I
mean
do need
it's
alcohol.
substantial.
I
it,
need
it,
alcohol, but no.
and
That's what it
you
is.
have to but whatever value it is, you have to consider it because of the effect it has on the climate system and the effects it's going to have down the
On
line. And I
planting.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know. Well, we have another question by Rich Diana. Hi, Rich. Question: when is El Nino expected next?
Right now, it's not expected this year in 2021. We're can't project out much farther into the future than that when it comes to El Nino, but La Nina is coming to an end. Um, or is on the decline and will be coming to an end, and we'll go back to a neutral state in the Pacific.
That's
So
a good
it's
question.
probably going to be, just based on the cycles, another year or two for before we get another La Nina phase of the oscillation.
Hello, realize summer hellish with gnashing of teeth, demons, fire, hot flames, great beach weather. We have some very prolific people with us. Hello, Peter Melton says he loves your new hairdo, Nick. It's the working
Oh
man's
yeah.
hairdo. Yeah, he's out there. He's out there. I wish I had the music. The working man every day. Jim says, then kick in water vapor two in the GHG calculation. There you go. That's what is that? The trifecta? The trifecta of shit destroying the atmosphere. Questions. Let's see. Oh, well, everybody's having fun in there. Oh, predictions, Basil says, are tough, especially about the future. Well, sure they are. But we
Yeah.
have trained people like Nicholas who can make a more educated guess than, no, well, it's not a guess. It's not a prediction. It's a, well, what is it, Nicholas, based on all of your observations? Is it a prediction?
Well, projection, which is
Projection.
basically, yeah, taking some taking what you know and projecting it into the future,
Mm-hmm.
just based on what is known now and based on what um, we know can't be changed, but also what can be changed, but we're not necessarily changing.
You're bringing the
Yeah,
sense of humor out in everybody tonight.
yeah,
I mean, Max, the carbon suppositories can help with methane. No farting around. I tell you what, he's got to get a toilet flush too. He has to. Because if Max, you got another one. Two flushes there. Oh my God. This is a good crowd tonight. Everybody's
yeah.
enjoying themselves with you. Well, you got a big smile on your face tonight, Nick, because everything's fucked up, but we're here together. Hi Heidi. Oh, the pandemic. Yes, she's saying, and she was. I'm sending my condolences for all who we have lost to this pandemic, man-made and natural disasters, and racial injustices and violence, including the insurrection coup at our U.S. Capitol, and my love and prayers for everyone's health, happiness, and vitality from Southern Maine and Wabanaki territory. Thank you for sharing, Heidi. It's
Yeah,
lovely.
I actually had a relative that died of COVID in November, and
That's crazy.
another relative that got sick from it but recovered. So
My cousin
Yeah.
just got it. She was sick for a whole month. Very sick. And she has like underlying bronchitis, but she kicked it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I talked to her. We texted 3 times a day for the entire month and every day. So I knew she was all right. Yeah, it can
Hmm.
be scary. It's
Yeah.
uh it's another cluster mess in this mess of things.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. And I mean,
Anthony.
that'd be a whole discussion right there. I mean, about future pandemics with climate change too. Yeah.
Anthony, people downplay the term climate change. Um, he says the climate always changes, but in the past few decades, climate change has been abnormal and abrupt. This is the difference. Of course. Yes, you're right about the
Hmm.
terminology. If you go on to the deniers that always sit there and go, oh, the climate always changes. Yes, of course it does. What do you think? Hey, Torstein, BOE in April, I reckon? Ooh. Well, you know Torstein going south. He the
Yeah.
one calculates the Arctic ice. See, we've got a plethora of intelligence here. Hi, Groot. Let's see. Yes, we talk about the COVID over a 500,000. Yep, yep.
Hmm.
Um, let's see. Anybody else have any questions? No, I don't see questions. This is too long, Heidi. I can't handle putting it up. Uh, Groot going south April? I don't know who he's talking to. All right,
Oh, he's
guys.
talking to Torsten. Yeah.
Oh, okay. 72 yesterday,
Yeah.
snow today here in the Dakotas. John Schmidt. Hi, John. Well, all right, guys. Well, we have been an hour, and I think it's been a fun conversation amongst difficult subjects. We really we touched on some things, and next month we'll do it again. I think it was
Yeah.
kind of lighthearted, Nick. I like hanging out with you. You
Yeah.
know,
It was kind of. Yeah, it
it's
was
fun.
fun.
It is.
Yeah.
It's fun. I hope you guys had fun talking about weather and watching my video, making Nick feel like the star. Because he is. He's the star tonight. Oh, Karen, I know the info's she says it's brutal. Yeah, of course. Oh, here's one more
Hmm.
question. Here's another question before we go. And it's Gazer. Will there be a nationwide insulation drive after Texas?
Insulation drive.
Yeah. So people don't freeze to friggin' death because they never thought that they would need it. Now things are changing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Probably not. Although I would
Yeah.
imagine people are going to be worried about insulating the cold from the heat in the summer.
Yeah.
We get like big heat
Yeah.
waves. I mean, we still I don't really know what summer will bring, um, but yeah, I could if we start getting some big heat waves. I mean, like big heat waves, like ridiculously
Big,
crazy, like Dust
hot,
Bowl style
sweaty.
heat
Yeah.
waves. Yeah,
But it
yeah, then
happens
then
already.
people are
It
going to be concerned
happens.
about that. I mean, that's part of
Yes.
adaptation is building better housing for people to be able to live in extreme conditions and deal with extreme conditions.
Thank you, Heidi. She's so gracious. We have a great bunch of people. Well, oh, wait. I don't want to miss it. I saw a queue somewhere. Okay. You are so bad. When is Nick replacing Al Roker? Wouldn't it be great if Al retired and you could take his place? Or even get a job with a network? Because you know what? I think you'd be good on a network. I mean, you have a great sense of humor. You have the knowledge. I mean, it would be enjoyable. It would be. See, guys, we had a good time talking about
Yeah, it was
sweating
a
to
lot of fun.
death,
Yeah,
dying.
splitting.
God. All
We
right,
don't
guys.
freeze first, right?
Well, look, we have serious shows on this channel, and then sometimes we get silly.
Yeah.
Serious and silly, the two S's. But Nick needs to get a little silly because it's tough stuff. It is. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Well, don't forget, he's on Patreon and we're on Buy Me a Coffee. We love you guys. And peace out. We will see you later.
Yeah.